Hey guys, and welcome back to another animal video. I guess I have another pet to talk about. I recently acquired a Betta Fish. I think it's Betta Fish. He's called Ghost Mochi, mainly because I like the name Mochi and my flatmate liked the name Ghost, so I just went Ghost Mochi. He is a platinum butterfly half moon, I believe. I think he's more butterfly than half moon. He's gorgeous. I could not resist bringing him home slightly earlier than I was planning to, but I brought him home anyway. He is awesome and so cute and friendly, and he's great, and his little beady black eyes. But no, so first things first, Betta fish do not, in fact it's not do not, cannot be housed together. They will basically kill each other. They're not called the Siamese fighting fish for no reason. They will fight till the death. It's like Robot Wars but with fish. Yeah, no, don't house them together. Doesn't end well for either of them. I also don't really condone sororities. I know a lot of people, this is very controversial because I know a lot of people that have the female Betta fish sororities. But I mean, in my opinion, it's always kind of standing on the edge till something goes wrong and then all hell breaks loose. Yeah, no, also they are a pretty hardy fish. I mean, they are recommended as a beginner fish, but hardy does not equate to likes dirty water, or small spaces, or no filter, or I'll get into it a bit later, but basically they are pretty hardy in their own right, but just because they're able to survive terrible conditions does not mean we should house them in terrible conditions. I see a lot of bettas housed in awful conditions, and it's really not fair on the fish. They have a labyrinth organ, I believe it's called, so basically they can breathe oxygen at the surface. You'll probably see a little bit of Ghost Mochi doing it, but no, they can go to the surface to breathe air, but again, that doesn't mean that the water quality can be bad. It's just something that they do. Just because they live in, muddy puddles in the wild doesn't mean that we should house them in muddy puddles. They also need a filter on low flow. Like, you do not want a high current with your Betta. They have very big fins and they will be blown about your tank left, right and center, and that is not something that you want. So usually on the back filters are pretty good for them. They have a really low current. I'm not actually using one. I'm using a small fluval filter, I think it is, but it has a setting, like it has a little dial that has low or high flow, and so mine's on a low flow, which is basically no flow at all, which is great. He loves it. You can probably see he sleeps behind the filter. I'm not sure why. I think there's a little knob that he lies on, but either way. Oh yes, temperature. They do need a heater. You cannot just have your bettas in a bowl without a filter or a heater. It is cruel. They need a temperature between 76 to 80 Fahrenheit. Mine's about 78. It has it on the heater, little dial. So I set mine to about 78, nice in the middle number. Yeah, you don't really want it any lower because like lower temperature is just going to really put them at risk of getting kind of sick, and like you're risking like ick and other diseases in tanks that you really don't want. You want the temperature to be up there so they're more active and healthy, and yeah, nothing really. I personally wouldn't even go much lower than 78, but no, between 76 and 80 is what is recommended. Just make sure you get a heater and a filter, and for the love of God, don't stick it in a bowl. It really irritates me when people get bettas and they just stick them in bowls. Poor fish. Poor fish. Like, tank size, I personally believe anything smaller than a anything smaller than a 5, anything smaller than a 5 gallon should never be used for any fish, except like shrimp, I guess. Personally, for a Betta, I wouldn't recommend anything smaller than a 10 gallon. My one, Ghost Mochi, he is in a 15 gallon to himself, except for 2 shrimp. But he was with shrimp at the shop, so like he was kind of used to shrimp, so he's alright. Other than that, I don't really recommend tank mates with Betta. I honestly wouldn't recommend anything smaller than a 10 gallon for a Betta. You can have him in a 5 gallon, yes, and I'm sure they would probably do fine in a 5 gallon, but I just like to give my animals lots of space, so he's in a 15 gallon to himself. I have a lot of people that are like, why the hell have you got a 15 gallon with just a single Betta in it? And I'm like, look at his happy face. Plants and decoration wise, I think using plants is by far, like real plants, is by far the best thing you can do. My plants are looking a little sorry for themselves at the moment, but they haven't started growing yet. They've only been in there a few weeks. They'll start taking off. Once they've settled in, once they've gotten their roots sorted, they will literally shoot up to the top and I'll be trimming. This is like the first week of my tank, so you kind of gotta... I'll probably film it on like a weekly basis and just show how quickly they grow. But no, I would recommend live plants simply because it helps with the water quality. They really help keep the quality of your water just pretty up there, and they're a lot better for your fish. They're a lot better for a betta. It's funny because their fins get shredded really easily on like sharp decorations, so I wouldn't have any like of those spiky plants I see people use, like the plastic ones, the silk ones, whatever it is. I wouldn't use fake plants. They're just so easy to rip your fins of your betta, and it's like no one wants to see ripped fins on a betta. The whole point of a betta is that they have beautiful fins and they're friendly. So yeah, no, don't use any kind of like sharp decorations, for the love of God. We don't need any shredded fins. I use pretty low light plants. I use like anubias. Bettas seem to love anubias. They love like resting on their leaves and like driftwood and stuff. They like to rest on things. I mean, for swimming with those big fins, I'm not surprised they like to rest on things. It's probably exhausting work. Poor things. We've bred them too big. The fins have gotten too big. But no, I have anubias. I've got Java fern. I've got some Java moss. I've got, I cannot remember the name of the stem plant. I will probably put it in the description for you. And just some smaller like filler plants in the middle. But yeah, my plan is to have like a nice bushy corner for him to kind of rest in and chill in, and then there's a bit more open space on the other side if he wants to. I'm more of a minimalistic setup kind of person. I like to just have plants and a bit of driftwood and kind of let them grow. I don't really have a set order for my tanks. I like it to be a bit wild because it feels more natural. But that's just my personal opinion. If you want to use fake plants, you can, but I would recommend going for like broader leaved fake plants, nothing sharp or spiky that's going to cause any damage to your betta's fins. It's just, yeah, and you definitely want stuff in there. You can't have a bare tank. They feel comfortable if there's stuff for them to like hide behind and kind of rest on and hide in. Talking about keeping plants alive, that'll probably be for another video, not this one. But yeah, no, water condition of a betta, like betta, not beta. So many people say it differently. It's all you hear is beta, but you know it's betta. Same difference. Don't crucify me. But yeah, no, water quality. They really should have good water. I don't understand why people just put them in bowls without filters, but I mean, they need water. They personally, I think they like more of a neutral pH, like 6.8 to 7 sort of pH. But I mean, they've been bred in captivity for so long. I think they're pretty fine if you go slightly above or below that. Like, it's a very broad spectrum they're able to do well on. Like, it was a bit different when they were wild. Like, a lot of fish nowadays, their spectrum of water conditions has like broadened quite a lot because they've been captive bred for so long in so many different conditions of pH and hardiness and stuff, that as long as you stick to kind of slightly above and below neutral, that he'll be pretty fine, as long as it's not like super acidic or super alkaline, which to be honest is like that for most fish. I say most. Don't hold me to that. But again, I'm not an expert, so you know, someone else might have a different opinion to me, and that's fine. This is just me going by what I personally know about betta. I'm going to keep doing that wrong. Any of the information I say that is like undoubtedly incorrect, you are fine to correct me. I'm just going from what I know. But I mean, some of the information out there could be wrong, some of it could be right. You kind of have to just keep doing your research and find the more reliable sources. But yeah, they also like, I mean, I have quite hard water here, but I'm pretty sure they prefer softer water, which is why I use driftwood in my tanks, because driftwood does actually help soften water slightly. It's the tannins that they release, kind of gives your water that orangey, kind of browny colour. But yeah, no, so that's kind of good to soften your water. And then almond leaves as well. I think they're called tropical almond leaves. They're also really good to use in betta tanks because they release kind of like natural like acids and stuff, not like it's gonna melt your fish, but they do release like natural kind of acids which also turn your water kind of an orangey colour. Mine haven't actually arrived yet, Probably should have waited them to get here before I got the fish, but he was too gorgeous. Yeah, they really do not like dirty water. I would personally recommend changing it once a week. I did a pretty big water change before I put Ghost Mochi in his tank, simply because like it had been left, and you know, it was like algae and there was kind of like leftover food where I was making sure it was cycled and stuff. I mean, it was pretty cycled before because I had fish in it previously, but I just wanted to make sure the water was all changed out to clean water, just to be sure. But yeah, no, you really should clean that tank like once a week with like a small water change. I prefer doing smaller water changes more often than like one big water change. I know some people prefer doing like a big water change once a month. I personally like doing like 20-30% water changes every week. That's just personal preference, and that's what I prefer doing. I think it's less stressful on the fish than doing like a big hefty one in one go. But yeah, if you have, again, that's just my personal opinion and like experience with fish. I'm not saying it is the be all end all. I mean, I would assume if you have them in smaller than a 5 gallon, you'd probably have to clean it more often than once a week. But again, I've never used a tank that small, so I can't say for sure. You'd have to kind of look elsewhere if that's really the tank size you wanted. Again, I don't recommend it, but some people do it. So yeah, right, on to food, I guess, is probably the next thing. Right, so Betta are carnivores. They like their protein. I give Ghost Mochi a mix of tropical fish flakes, not that much. I have these little bug pet, I cannot remember the brand, and they're not beta specific, but they're high in protein. It's basically like insect larva and it's like insect larva and then kind of fish kind of mixed into a pellet. It's very high in protein. It's really good for smaller carnivore fish, I guess. Carnivorous? It's good. It's high in protein. I'll put a picture up of it. I recommend it. He loves it. I also recommend frozen food, so like bloodworms, daphnia, brine shrimp, etc., etc. You can feed him live food, but I personally prefer frozen just because it kind of eliminates the chance of getting any parasites, because with frozen food it kind of kills anything that's in there. Live food, you always have that risk of introducing like parasites and stuff to your tank. I mean, I'm sure the fish love it more because it's alive. I would only ever really use frozen. I don't like using live food. It's basically the same thing. You just have to defrost it before using it. But yeah, no. So he gets all of that. He gets bloodworm every now and again. He gets his pellets every day. He gets a little bit of fish flakes. He gets brine shrimp, basically whatever's in my freezer for fish. I feed him twice a day. I prefer giving him 2 smaller feedings than 1 big one. He's only got a little stomach, and because he's the only thing in the tank, I don't want to overfeed him at any time, because then the food's kind of left over and it can help reduce your water quality. I give him a couple of pellets. I'll drop like 1 in at a time and he'll eat it, and then when it starts to look like he kind of, you know, after maybe like 3 or 4, more like 2 or 3 actually, after like 2 or 3 I'll kind of leave him. And then I'll feed him again later in the day, like a couple of bloodworms and stuff like that. I don't really want as much as he'll kind of eat in a minute, like per session. They only have tiny stomachs. I don't want to overfeed him. And they are gutty. They are really greedy. They will eat like as much as they can if you let them. So I wouldn't recommend it. But it's up to you. It just means you'll have to change the water a lot more. Yeah, I mean, I think that's everything. So yeah, overall, basically, you should get a Betta fish because he's great. He's friendly. He comes to the front of the tank. He's like, oh my god, I love you. He's gorgeous. I love the platinums. But no, everyone should own one. 5 gallons or more. Everyone should own one. And you can easily house, like, get like a 10 gallon. Put a divider in the section. Boom. 2 Betta tanks. They're right there. Sorted. Unless you're like me and give them a 15 gallon to themselves. But no, I'll probably do some updates on it because obviously the tank's still really new. None of the plants have really settled in or anything yet. I might add some more shrimp in there. I'll see how it goes. You shouldn't really have tank mates with Bettas, in my opinion, except shrimp. The only reason I'm using the shrimp is just because he doesn't seem to have a taste for them. We'll find out how that goes after I feed him some more brine shrimp, but he doesn't really have a taste for Bettas. They're all different. Some of them crucify them, some of them don't. He was housed with shrimp in the store that I got him from, so he's probably more used to them than some others. But I might add some more amanos. Amanos are the larger white ones. They probably fare off a lot better than cherry shrimp do, but we'll kind of update you on it. He's already eaten some of the snails. Well, tried to. But yeah, no, I might do more updates on the tank. Let me know if you want to see. And yeah, so that's all I've got to really tell you about betta fish. If anything was wrong, I am sorry. I'm not an expert at all. This is just my experience in the hobby so far and what I know of bettas. But yeah, no, I think that is everything. I hope you liked it. And no, leave a like or a comment if you enjoyed the video, and let me know if you want to see more. And I'll see you next time. Bye guys.